Monkey is brought to you by Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects.
Hi and welcome to Quilt Monkey. In today's show we are going to be finishing off our medallion quilt that we've been working on for the past few shows. We're now going to do the final two borders. These are nice and simple, they are just plain borders with cornerstones, two different sizes but just plain ones, so no complicated piecing or having to do silly measuring and things like that. What you need to do is grab your background fabric, some scraps for your cornerstones, a cup of tea, and most importantly, a tape measure, and I'll meet you over by the quilt. So let's get sewing. So you need to measure your quilt top in a few different places. So measure it across the middle and then the middle of the length. And then again at the top, bottom, side and side. Because what you can find is that at one end it's a lot, not huge difference, but maybe it can be about a ½ inch difference at one end to what it is at the other end in the width or the length. I have already sewn my first border on. It's just a 1½ inch wide strip by the length of the quilt. So I've sewn the two sides on first, and what I did was I made it just a little bit longer so that I didn't stretch my border fabric, because what you don't want to do is get kind of a ripply effect when you sew your borders on, because they're quite stretchy and they are only narrow with them only being 1½ inches wide. So I sewed the two sides on first, trimmed off the excess, then measured again, and then I cut my top two border pieces at exactly the right length and sewed a 1½ inch square onto the ends of each one for my cornerstones. So I've got that continuation of the cornerstones coming from the first pieced border. Now the second pieced border is a little bit wider. So you're going to measure the quilt top again, measure at the top, the middle and the bottom, and then again 3 places on the other side. And you're going to make some little tiny cornerstone blocks like this that are just simple 4 patches. They finish, before sewing into the border, they finish at 2½ inches. So you want to cut your background squares at 1½ inches and your print squares at 1½ inches. And you want to make 4 of those and then give them a little press and pop them to one side. They are really cute because they're only tiny. And then you want to do your border fabrics. So these are 2½ inches wide, and obviously because the width of fabric is about 40 inches, you're going to have to piece a whole load of strips together to get the right length in total. So just like I did for the first 2 sides, I'm going to cut 2½ inches wide and I'm going to make them a little bit too long. So I'm going to trim at the top and the bottom, just a little bit of excess so that I'm not stretching, because you just don't want that look. There's no amount of Botox in the world that can sort out the wrinkles on a wavy, wrinkly border. It's one of those things you can really ruin your finished quilt by doing that, by just stretching it. You can't quilt it out, you can't press it out. It's just going to look kind of funny, and when you've spent so much time and so much effort, you want it to look beautiful and perfect. So I am now going to piece the borders, the first 2 borders, onto the sides of my quilts and add the cornerstones to the other 2 borders. So once I've sewn these on, press the seams out, then remeasure in the 3 places again and cut 2 strips of fabric that are exactly that length, and sew your cornerstones onto the ends of each one. Just pay attention that your cornerstones are going outwards. So you've got the continuation of the little print squares going out from the centre of the quilt. I'm going to do that, and when I come back, we will have a finished quilt top. And there we have it. My final 2 borders are on. I've got my cornerstones going all the way out from the centre block. So we've got something nice just to focus on as we look at the quilt. I just need to get it quilted now, bound and onto my bed. I think I'm going to use a deep grey Aurifil thread, rather like the one that I used to piece the quilt with to do the quilting. I think that will just sit nicely in the background fabric and blend throughout the prints as well. So I'm excited to get that finished and have a little rest now, finish off my cup of tea because I've been really busy sewing today. And I shall see you next time on Quilt Monkey.